Hello, everyone. Welcome to webinar number 7. This one is all about questions and the power of the question. And this was something that I really didn't fully understand until I started using more CI and approaching my lessons and activities with more of an acquisition focus. I knew there were different types of questions, but I just didn't fully understand the power of a question, and especially with second language acquisition. So I wanted to share some of that with you, and also to talk about some of the techniques, in particular circling, which has such a profound impact on providing a safe, secure space for learning environment for your students, especially those that need extra support or extra input. So what I found in my classes were the faster processing students might only need to hear a certain language chunk once or twice, but the bulk of the class really did need extra input. And so if we can provide that input in an interesting way that is repetitious but not boring and predictable, that's really powerful. And I guess from a personal point of view, I also really, as a beginner language student in different languages, and I regularly take classes in another language at beginner level, just so that I can really keep myself true to what it's like to be an absolute beginner. So that has had a really profound impact on how I approach my lessons and teaching now. So I certainly have appreciated teachers that have provided me with lots of the circling, where I can hear the language chunks numerous times. So with that in mind, let's make a start. So why questions? Well, as I've just said, there's so much to gain from good questioning and questions that engage and connect you with your students, questions that can foster understanding and trust and fun in your lessons. So, of course, it does support language acquisition. It provides a prompt for interactions, and students are definitely more likely to remember word chunks or vocab if they are done in an interesting interaction rather than memorizing them from a list. So, great for retention of vocab and grammar. And communication isn't a passive process. So questioning really helps us to keep our language classrooms really communication focused, I suppose. Additionally, it can clarify meaning and to check whether the students understand and have comprehension. So it allows us to constantly get feedback from our students of what they have picked up and what they maybe need more input for. And really importantly, it allows more contact with the language, and that, of course, leads to acquisition. So questions are gold. So what kind of questions? I start my beginner classes with the who, what, when, where posters up, and they are there permanently so that it reminds me and it gives a prompt to the students too to help them with processing quickly when we are engaging in an oral discussion, to provide that extra support. So here's an example. So these words here would be projected up, either, as I said, on posters or as a word wall. And that has been super duper useful for the students to have these. And we use them so regularly that they do pick up and acquire these really, really quite quickly. To help with that, the processing, and just for another prop, I use gestures for each of these. So I'll go through those. You can use any gestures that you like as long as the students understand and you've established the meaning of each gesture. So dare, nan, nani, doko, itsu, ikutsu, and donna. So these are the ones that I've found have been the most useful with my beginner students. And as much as possible, I try to incorporate these question words in any interactions that we have. As I said, we've got those gestures that provide extra support. So I wanted to talk about and go through and give you my understanding of the circling technique. I read somewhere that, you know, this circling questioning technique can look quite simple when you're observing it from a teacher, by a teacher who is really experienced in this. An experienced teacher has the ability to make this look really, really effortless. However, I found that this was something that did require a lot of practice. And so I would remind you and encourage you to persist with this and know that this is a skill that will build up over time. And but once you've got that skill, you can apply that to any interaction that you've got with your class. So it's a really, really important skill. And I think one of the skills that I had the most impact for me when I was wanting to connect with my students and provide them with the support that allowed them to succeed really quickly. So we'll look into that now. So I'm just going to move myself out of the way. So if we look here, the circling really does help to maximise limited vocab. And this has been adapted from a wonderful Spanish teacher called Laurie Clark, who came here several years ago and did some training, and she has a wonderful blog called Teaching from the Heart, Hearts for Teaching. She's all about student wellbeing, teacher wellbeing, and CI, comprehensible input. So here you can see that you make a statement first before you go into the circling questions. So when you're having a discussion with a student or with the class, and you're making a statement, and it might be using a language chunk that you would like to give input on. So you're focusing on likes or dislikes. So you might say, Burger Man likes burgers. Burger Man wa burger ga suki desu. So Burger Man likes burgers. And that's the statement. So that is known as fact now. Okay. You follow that up then with a question that has a yes answer. So does Burger Man like burgers? And of course, the answer is hi. And you can repeat that extra reps. Burger Man wa hamburger ga suki desu. So the students are listening to that repetition of ga suki desu. Again, ask a question to which the answer is no, and you do this by substituting another word. For example, the subject. Does Super Sushi like burgers? Does Beyonce like burgers? Does Sensei like burgers? And so the answer is no. And you can then confirm again. Dare ga, who likes burgers? Dare ga burger ga suki desu ka? Burger Man. And then you can substitute another word there. For example, drop, throw, vomit, burgers. So you can ask another question. Does Burger Man drop burgers? Does Burger Man throw burgers? Does Burger Man vomit burgers? And we've already established it's Burger Man likes burgers. So, yeah. And then you can repeat the correct phrase again. Then you can follow up with questions with either or. For example, does Burger Man like burgers or does Burger Man vomit burgers? Does Burger Man like pizza or does Burger Man like Subway? Just by substituting one of the sentence parts in the sentence. Then you can ask an open-ended question to which the students know the answer. So not opening up for discussion, but asking a question where they know that what the answer is. So who likes burgers? Or what does Burger Man do? What does Burger Man like? So again, you can see that the progression from the easy yes/no questions to either or to then the open-ended one. And then really importantly, always make sure that you restate the original statements correctly after each question. For example, does Burger Man like sushi? No, that's right. Burger Man doesn't like sushi. Burger Man likes burgers. So that's a quick whip through, but we are going to do another example of this with something a little bit different, which we will go into shortly. So I think it's fair to talk about the pitfalls of the circling technique. It is repetitive. It's designed to be repetitive for new vocab, for new language chunks. The reason why it's repetitive is because the students need lots of input of new words and new language chunks, new grammar. The input provides the acquisition, allows for acquisition. However, if we were to repeat the same structures over and over, when the students know those structures or the vocab, it's clear that they know ga suki desu. There's no need to do a circling routine technique with that. So the circling is really an opportunity to provide input for language that is new to the class, new to the students, and also to provide a chance for students for you to check whether the students have got that language chunk. So if they know Gaski des, you can just state that as fact and then move on to another part or another question or another part of the discussion. You're circling when you need to. It's on a needs to basis. That is really good advice, which again, I'm sharing these tips and tricks because I've walked this path. I have circled to death and have learned that you need to be selective with it. What I thought that I could do now is to just share three actually, easy wins of questions that you can have a go, pick one of these and try tomorrow in class. So the three wins are conversation starters, passwords, and what's the temperature. They are all easy, little to no prep activities that you can incorporate into your lesson routine. So the first one is the conversation starters. You can give it a jazzy name or kaiwa. And these questions are, just spotted a typo there, tooth Bruce. So these questions here are unusual, quirky, interesting questions, which hopefully will spark a little bit of discussion with your class. So again, this is just a selection, but some of them could be: what color is your toothbrush? Who is your favorite superhero? What is your favorite milkshake or drink? Which do you prefer, snakes or spiders? Are you a spender or a saver? Where would you like to go? And if we were to look a little bit more in depth about that one, if we were to choose what colour is your toothbrush, there's that typo again. Some of the ways that you can interact with this question is with the whole class. So a quick show of hands or a stand up provides a little bit more movement going through the colours. You could tally these up. With the conversation starters, I found one of the easiest ways for me to implement that was to have a selection of slides with the question, with a visual prompt, and I would have that in my lesson PowerPoint. So each lesson we would have a different kaiwa, a different conversation starter, and depending on the mood in the class, it could go for 5 minutes, it could go for 2 minutes. If there was great discussion, I'd continue it on for a bit longer. But it became part of our routine, and the students were interested in the different question that was going to be asked for each lesson. You can ask individual questions also to individual students, and you can cover some of the high frequency or the required vocab that you need to cover in a drip feed manner. So you can review colours, you can talk about the counters, the number of brushes, ippon, nihon, sanpon, timing of when they brush, You could talk about family members and their toothbrushes. Again, it's checking in with your class and your students to see, you know, what sparks their interest. And sometimes you'd be surprised with the things that they really want to, you know, discuss. And that's great. It keeps it fresh and interesting. So I thought that we could have a look at the circling technique using the conversation starter of what color is your toothbrush? Or so let's have a look. So again, you make a statement. So you're chatting with the students. You might pick a student, John, and ask what color is your toothbrush, and then you're having a conversation about it. They know colors, so that's, you know, we don't need to circle that. But they don't really know electric toothbrush, and they're a bit hazy on the arimasu, to have. Motteimasu obviously is also okay. I like to focus with the Super 7 for the beginners, and so we just really simplify it to ga arimasu. So make the statement, John has a toothbrush. Then you're saying, does John have a toothbrush? And that's a yes. Does John have an electric toothbrush? And we have established that, you know, his toothbrush is just a regular futsuno toothbrush. So that's a no answer. Does Francis Sensei have an electric toothbrush? Now, the students know that I have one because we've had a chat about that. We've talked about it. John's given me information about his toothbrush. We've covered the color of it, how many he has, whether it's electric, whether it's futsuno. So the students know that I've compared it and contrasted with me. John-sanは普通の歯ブラシがあります。でも、フランス先生は普通の歯ブラシがありません。どんな歯ブラシがありますか？先生は。So, comparing and contrasting. Again, follow up with the questions of either or. Does John have a regular toothbrush, or does Francis Sensei have a regular toothbrush? So you're providing the answer within the question, and that's that extra scaffold. And then more of an open-ended question. Who has the electric toothbrush? Does Francis Sensei like the electric toothbrush? Does John want an electric toothbrush? And again, remembering to always take the opportunity to restate the original statement correctly after each of the questions. Does John have that electric toothbrush? No, that's right. John doesn't have an electric toothbrush. He has an old regular toothbrush. So I hope that this circling, you can see a couple of examples there, and that's becoming clearer. Some of the other questions that you could ask for this conversation starter is, who bought the toothbrush? Again, bought might be the new piece, the new vocab. So you can circle kaimashita because the students might not have heard that. Doko de kaimashita ka? So again, you're giving more repetition for that kaimashita. Atarashii desu ka? Furui desu ka? Ookii, chisai. So you can introduce some of the adjectives with that. And you can give, if some of these are new words, you can just write a quick translation. Remembering with comprehensible input, the goal is to have everybody understanding all of the messages. Move over here. Some of the other questions might be, 普通ですか? それとも, and there's your gesture. それとも、電動ですか? You can include daily routines. 毎日使いますか? 何時に使いますか? 好きな歯磨きは何ですか? Favorite toothpaste. It's a good opportunity to maybe to ease the cognitive load with lots of new vocab. Use the brand names. It's an easy scaffold that you can do there. So, Colgate が好きですか? それとも、can't think of another one. We use Colgate. You can check the color. Do you like that color? Did you want that color? Does your sister have that color? Do you want your sister's color brush? Does your pet have a toothbrush? So you can really drill down on some limited vocab here and keep it really comprehensible by using the gestures, by circling, and using some visuals if need be. Passwords is another great way to incorporate some questions. I also use passwords for language chunks. So it might be a statement. It could be what I like to call rejoiners. So, 面白いですね. Or, もちろん. Or, 本当? So that's one way to use password. So the password is the students need to answer a question to get into the class. It allows the teacher a quick one-on-one with each student. So before you've even started the lesson, you've connected with each student, albeit briefly, but you've made that really quick connection. It is an easy routine to put into place when you've got the students that line up and come into your class. When the students are already in the class, you can do a couple of things. You can ask an either or question. So it might be, I think I have some on the next page. Yeah. So, 今日のパスワードは何番ですか? So you can quickly ask them question, 何番ですか? So how are they feeling? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a super duper quick one. They can ask their partners. Then you can cold call some people afterwards. So check in with your partner, and then sensei checks in. Or it could be an either or. どちらが好き? 猫? 犬? どちらが怖い? ゾンビ? お化け? So an easy question to slot in, and you're getting to know your students a little bit more about interesting stuff that they might like to talk about. So this one, guess the temperature, is again another quick one. And it's really just a great little warm up. It helps revise numbers and also ue, shita. So basically, I'll ask them to guess the temperature. We write them down. We're checking the numbers as we go. We tally up who's the highest, who's the lowest, who's the closest. When we check who's the closest, I might give some hints. Ie, ue, ie, moto shita. So that's a nice, quick and easy one. I wanted to share this is credited to Tina Hardigan, who has some great demos on YouTube. She's a Spanish and French teacher. And this is, she calls it the question and answer game. And it's with a partner. And the teacher will ask a question or actually make a statement first, and a question or a statement. And so they can build up more points, the more detail that they, or the more detailed their responses are. For example, does John have a toothbrush? That could be the question. So in the first round, if my partner understood the question and answered in English, yes, John has a toothbrush, or yes, they would get 1 point. If my partner could answer that question in Japanese, hai, haburashi ga arimasu, they'd get 2 points. For 3 points, my partner said one phrase or a sentence in Japanese. Hai, furui haburashi ga arimasu. That'd be 3 points. 4 points, 2 or more sentences. Hai, John-san wa haburashi ga arimasu. Furui desu. 3 or more sentences for 5 points, where they add some personal information using their imagination. So, hai, John-san wa haburashi ga arimasu. Furui haburashi desu. John-san wa atarashii haburashi ga hoshii desu. Watashi mo atarashii haburashi ga hoshii desu. Or 5 points, also asking a question in Japanese, which was understood and responded to in English or Japanese. So that might be Donna haburashi ga hoshii desu ka? Pinku no. Or oki no. So that's the question and answer game. And then the next round would be the other partner to do the responding there. It's a great game. Lots of lots of discussion, and it's low stakes for the students. They're working in pairs. You can ask the pairs to share the responses, which provides more input as well. And you can use that opportunity then to sort of collate or restate the information that has been shared. そうですか。Susie さんは、古い歯ブラシが好きです。面白いですね。And the like. So, any questions about questions?